Okay, we're live. Okay, perfect. Hey everyone, it's Aaron Morrow here, local realtor in the greater Seattle area. Again, with my YouTube channel here, living in the greater Seattle area, Aaron Morrow. I'm actually here doing our first live on YouTube, streaming to multiple platforms, including on TikTok, Instagram. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn right now, just because I like to be on all social media. And I have two guests that are going to be coming on, and it's my team members, Kristy Lucas and Erik Olsen. Today, we're just going to be talking about what's going on in the real estate market and kind of just what goes on cyclical around the holidays and answering anyone's questions that might be coming on if we get anyone that comes in during our live stream right now. I'm not expecting too many people since this is our first one, but we'll also be throwing this as a podcast, and you can I'll tell you where to go find that after I distribute it onto the platform. But without further ado, I'm going to flip it over so I can invite my guests in. And first and foremost, I have Kristy Lucas to the stage, and I have Erik Olsen right here too. Again, both excellent team members of mine. And Kristy, Erik, why don't you both just tell me a little bit about yourselves and, how awesome our team is.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I mean, we're the best. I don't know. I just think we're a lot of fun. We like working with each other, and we all like helping people. So
yeah, exactly. And hey, anyone on Instagram, by the way, Instagram's the only platform that I cannot get to multi-stream where you guys can see Kristy and Erik on this on my multi-stream platform. TikTok is lucky that I found a way around this. So if you're on Instagram, quick reminder, I have a call to action at the top. You should be able to find a way to go to YouTube where you can actually find my live. Or if you're following me on any other platform, including Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, go watch the live right now. All right, guys. Oh, one more quick reminder. Again, we are all realtors here in the greater Seattle area. Our team has been doing this for quite a long time. We work with both buyers and sellers in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties. We absolutely love working with people here in the greater Seattle area, and we get calls, texts, and emails from people every day, from people just like you looking to make their move to the greater Seattle area. And we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to make your next home purchase or home sale in the next 9 days, 9 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or my personal favorite is scheduling a Zoom link with yours truly, which you can find in the description below as long as you're on YouTube. If you're on my other platforms, head on over to my link in bio and you should be able to find all that contact info. And I'm going to be redistributing this to Erik and Kristy. So if you want to find their contact info, you should be able to find theirs as well. So we got the housekeeping items out of the way. Today, again, folks, we are here to just talk about what's going on, how, just the market tends to slow down during the holidays. But how there's just some serious buyer activity out there around the holiday season. We get some good, serious buyers around the holiday season that are looking for the serious holiday deals out there. So we find on the flip side, sometimes it can be the best time to sell, but also I've had a lot of buyers get the best deals on houses like right before Christmas. Every year I get someone into a house like right before Christmas, and I would say it's the best deal they get all year. So I don't know if you guys can attest to that. That might just be anecdotal, but I've been doing this for 10 years, and that seems to be every year cyclical. That's what I've been experiencing, and including one of my video testimonials on YouTube. It's from a family that got into a house right before Christmas, and that happened to them where they got their house for thousands under list price. And again, it was all due to being a serious shopper around the holiday season. But Kristy, Erik, what do you think?
Yeah, Aaron. And for everybody, my name is Erik Olsen. I have the pleasure of working with Kristy and Aaron. And I totally agree with Aaron. I think there between a couple different things right now, rates coming down a little bit, and then as we go into the holidays, a lot of people are traveling, focusing on spending time with the family. And so it does kind of narrow that pool of buyers to the people that are just really serious about looking. And between rates coming down a little bit and a lot of homes sitting on the market now for a month, I think you have an opportunity to get some really good deals this time of year.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And Erik, you've been doing this for a couple years now on our team.
Yes, February will be the end of my third year, so I'm about to enter my fourth year in the business.
Yeah, definitely. And our team actually we've been in two different offices for our team for ever since I've been on the team, and we've actually just kind of gone all in Bellevue. But we still, again, like I said, we primarily, at least our team, focuses on King, Pierce, and Snohomish County. We've had, between the three of us, at least on this podcast right now, I mean, what's your furthest sale, guys? I've been in Ephrata, in
Right.
Eastern Washington. I've been right down to the border in Oregon. I've had weird sales. So
Okay.
Furthest sale,
yeah.
Custer, Washington, almost to Canada, north of Bellingham,
Yeah.
about a 2.5 hour drive from here.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a big one.
So, I mean, part of this business is you go where the business takes you, and most of your focus is working with local people around your office or within your commute. Your primary focus is who you can get to within an hour, right? But a lot of the times when we get all these past clients that we build up over the years that we work with, a lot of them end up being like, oh, well, we end up, we want to sell and we want to move 2 hours away,
Right.
or somewhere, and you're like, oh man, well, I really like you, Joe. Should you're stuck in that situation as an agent. Is it better to refer them to a local realtor in that service area to work with and partner with, or is it better to service them? So I think it all depends on I think it's a case by case basis. There's been some clients where, like, for example, like my clients that have wanted to take me up to Whidbey Island, that was a little bit too far. So I've had to, partner with realtors up there. But like you mentioned Bellingham, that would be a little bit too far for me. But Marysville, I've done easily, So
It's definitely
case
by case. Like, the timeline is a huge factor. Like, if your buyer is like, hey, I need to have something under contract in the next 2 weeks, well, then, hey, we can make 1 or 2 trips up there, look at as many houses as possible, and then make some offers on them. But on the flip side, if they have a couple of months and they're open to looking at different properties here and there, they want to look at one property today, one property the following week, then that might be a situation where you want to get them in touch with a local realtor. But if they really need to get something under contract within the next week or so, and they're willing to go look at a bunch of properties in one day, and you have already that relationship with them, then it probably makes sense to go do that with them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Kristy, what have you experienced? Because you've been doing this for as long as I have. So what's your take on just kind of the holiday season, and like especially right now, because we've kind of been going through this, heading out of now. I mean, COVID's still around, right? It's not we're not in lockdowns anymore. And things aren't as tight or anything like that. It's a completely different ball game now, with everything is opened up, open houses are good, but with the high interest rates, what is going on in this winter market that might be different cyclically than the previous holiday seasons that we've been accustomed to. Because I've heard a lot of talks that this is similar to 2019, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that in some ways. I think this market is even more advantageous for buyers than 2019 was.
I'd agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now you can, in quite a few price brackets, you can get inspections, you can negotiate pricing, buyer's points or seller pay downs towards your interest rates, things that we weren't seeing in 2019 at all. Like there was more options for buyers in 2019, but you weren't getting under list price. You were still competing. And I'm not seeing that very much right now, although I think that will change in the second week of January, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'd agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, guys.
Like you said, some of the best deals of the year. If this is something you've been thinking about and you can, like this, that's a very good reason to look now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I work primarily in Auburn and in South King County, and right around here where I live, like the most competitive houses are generally in the 400 to a little bit over 500,000. And even right now in the last month, those homes that generally would be going very, very quickly are still sitting for 30 days. And you can come in even in the most competitive price point and sometimes get seller paid closing costs and other goodies as well.
Yeah. Now maybe Erik, for because a lot of the times people that come to my YouTube channel or that I teach on my social media, especially on the buyer side, are first time home buyers that might not just understand some of the lingo when it comes to just, terminology. So maybe talk about what like those incentives might look like. Like maybe talk about what, just go more in depth of what you mean by incentives.
Yeah, so depending upon how much your down payment is, and you can talk with a lender about this, but if you're doing a 3% down payment, you can ask for up to 3% in seller paid closing costs. And that can go towards helping cover a handful of different items, but ultimately it reduces the amount of money that you have to bring to the table at closing. And so for buyers that maybe have good income, have a good credit score, but their savings isn't quite there, that's a really strong opportunity to go make that offer and have a seller help you pay for some of those closing costs. I know when I bought a home a couple of years ago, that's what my wife and I did. And ultimately, that's what allowed us to move into our home, is that we were able to get some help with closing costs and to help us meet that cash requirement to close on the home.
Yeah, no, that's a great, that's some great feedback. Have any of you done a recent new construction transaction? I think it's been a couple months since I've done a new construction deal. I think the last one that I did was a couple months ago, and the incentive we were doing on that one was there was a closing costs involved on that one, but they were also doing a rate buy down as well, which was very helpful in that situation, kind of doing that combination that was helping the buyer get some of their upfront costs taken care of, but then also having the interest rate be taken care of as well. Because, the interest rates are kind of floating in the 7s-ish right now. And I know they're kind of, in general, coming down, at least is what I've been following recently from our lenders. I am always careful to talk about interest rates, especially when I'm being recorded. But since I'm not a lender, but have any of you had any sort of experience this year or recently with any sort of transactions with rate buy downs or any sort of buyers?
Yeah,
Some feedback there.
Yeah, so right now, especially if you have money to do your closing costs, but your main concern is your monthly payment, then I think the 2-1 buy down makes a lot of sense. I've helped a couple buyers do that. And so now instead of having some seller contribution go towards your closing costs, you could have that seller contribution go towards buying down your interest rate. And there's several different buy down programs. There's like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
Yeah,
But
I've seen those ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the one that I've used a couple times with buyers is the 2-1 buy down. So in your first year, so let's say right now we're at roughly 7%. So in your first year, you would be making a payment as if it was a 5% rate, so 2 down. And then in your second year, you would be making a payment as if it was a 6% interest rate. And then at the end of the second year, you would go back to your original full payment. And then one of the cool things is a lot of lenders, you can actually use that money. So the seller's money is put into an account and they draw from it each month to make up the difference of your payment. And if within the next 2 years, rates do come down significantly, then you can use the money left in that account to help you with refinancing your home, which makes it
Good point.
a really great option for buyers, including like my sister and brother-in-law. That's what they decided to do. And instead of paying, upwards of $3,500 a month, they were able to pay $2,400 a month for their first year in their home that they bought for $580,000. So that made a huge difference for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, I'd say the 1-2 buy down is probably the most popular that I've seen. They're yielding a higher return temporarily than just a permanent buy down. Assuming that the strategy is that knowing inevitably that rates will go down somewhat by some amount, I mean, no one ever has a crystal ball, so I think just it's, one thing that I'm always just careful with my home buyers is just always making sure that they understand that no matter what strategy they're using, that whatever house they're buying, they're comfortable with whatever the payment is without any sort of assistance that's involved or any sort of enhancement indefinitely. Like, that's what the payment was going to be. You guys need to be cool with that for the life of owning that house, Yep. And we need to go into, because I know when how the strategy with just how crazy how good of an investment when you could go pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, the 30-year average just for the greater Seattle area on the return of increase on equity or home prices year over year. What was it, around 4 or 5%, or was it 7? I don't remember the percentage. It was in the single digits, but it was still something that was respectable, right? But even taking that number even into consideration, when you can almost guarantee that you get a return on your investment like that. I had plenty of buyers through the last 7 years where they were able to, when we looked back at it, the first thing when we sat down, initially they're excited where they want to buy the house, the dream house. And the only, then they look into their finances with the lender and they cannot buy the dream house yet. It's just not in the cards. So then they're left with two options. Do we continue to rent? Or do we actually talk about what's a more realistic scenario what can we buy, right? Because you're going to be in this situation either way where are you going to continue to rent and be stuck in the same situation 5 years down the road if you're not going to change your work situation long term, right? So what they did is we found, we looked at getting them into a condo with looking at again, no crystal balls here, right? But looking at what the return on investment would look like based on prior history of how the numbers were looking for that city, looking at how it has appreciated year over year on the trend for, obviously we didn't factor in anything pre 2008, after that hard reset with the market crash. But they were able to get into a condo, a small, I think it was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, but then they were able to turn around and 2 years later, sell it, buy a slightly bigger condo, take the proceeds from that, and then 2 years later, sell that condo and finally get into the house, So this was like a 6-year journey to get into the house, all the while not changing the job scenario, getting slightly incremental, maybe pay increases, but not significant life-changing pay increases. You know what I mean? So had they have just kept renting for those 6 years and not changed their job situation, they would have never gotten to where they could have been gotten into the house. So those are things that I just think of, that type of example of that story, that client that I worked with through those multiple, because that was like 6 transactions that we worked through together, right? Because helped them buy, sell, to get them to that point. That was amazing to get them into that. And that's where that hits home. So I'm always able to take that story and talk to home buyers about what that looks like. Because on the flip side, and I don't know if I'm rambling, I do this a lot. But on the flip side, I've talked to a recent client of mine that is still kind of looking, but they finally pulled the trigger and said, okay, we need to buy a house soon, relatively soon, in the next couple months. They're like hoping to pull the trigger in the next 6 months or so. But this is the client that I've been talking to for over like the last 3 years or so. And they said they've been saving thousands of dollars over the last 5 years. And they mentioned, I think, not one of their biggest regrets, but I think one thing that they're thinking is, had we have bought on a lower monthly payment, like if we didn't try to save up as much and bought when things cost less back then, we would have been into a home by now, versus trying to save up for that higher down payment now when things are pricier. And then the thing is, they always say the best time to have bought was back then, and well, the next best thing is to just buy when you can now, and the worst time to buy is waiting, and just keep not buying. But there's always a caveat to that, because you always have to look into your personal finances, sit down not only with a lender that you can know, like, and trust, a realtor that you can know, like, and trust, but also your financial advisor that knows your finances. But then you've got to have a team behind you that can holistically look at your finances and get you there. So like, if home ownership is the goal, which I think it should be for everyone based on what's going on with the scary numbers on what's going on long-term with all of these institutions buying up all of the single family houses right now. I think I'm derailing this conversation now. This is like turned into a completely different thing, but like with what's going on with, is it Blackstone or right? Blackstone. Yeah. Anyways, one of the mini I think the statistic, and I always throw these out there because it's like lives are like, oh, well, you didn't throw the right statistic in there, but it's like, well, legally I said I think. So anyways, I think the statistic was like something I read in an article where it's like in the next couple of years they said about 40% of the single family houses will be owned by private institutions.
Whoa.
And will be rental housing. And
That's
there's
not good.
and there's not only that, but there are large pockets of the United States right now that the new construction is being built for rent now, not being built to own. So like there's these areas that like these whole master plan communities in the United States now that you can go to and you'd be like, oh, that looks like a really pretty house. Sure would love to buy it. And they'd be like, well, you can't buy it, but you sure could rent it from us, for more money than it would cost for the mortgage right now, even with these crazy high interest rates. So like, that's what's going on right now. So like, I think the American dream now more than ever, that American dream of home ownership is under attack more than ever. And I think getting people into home ownership and finding ways of making it affordable, and especially for like, Seattle being one of like again, I think one of the I think it's like the fourth most expensive cities in the US. New York, LA, they're more expensive than us, but we're up there. We're in the top 10.
Sure.
So like we're an expensive area. So being an expensive area, figuring out how to help people get into home ownership and making it affordable, helping people get into home ownership is definitely the goal. And our team does that. We're specialists at helping first-time homebuyers. Over the year, but I think it's been also one of those things where like watching it happen, where like, when we first started, or not first started, but like 10 years ago, we were helping people where it was easy to be able to help someone get into any type of house, and now we're really helping someone come up with a strategy of, this is what needs to be done for you to get into home ownership. And a lot of people I talk to, it is not, unfortunately, it's not a quick road. It's a strategic, okay, I'm glad you came to me now, but how do you get people excited about something that they can't have instantly right now? Like that's the unfortunate thing that we're dealing with in our society, is getting them excited for home ownership and the long-term goal and the discipline of how to get what needs to be done to get them to be able to get into home ownership. And I can tell you one thing, it's not the you have to not get that Starbucks coffee. It's not that. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to be the thing that gets you into a home quicker, So if you're serious about wanting to get into home ownership, reach out to us so we can actually come up with a strategy. Because what I always tell people is there's nothing that's truly bad that's going to happen if we have you reach out to one of our trusted lenders. Yeah. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. It's not going to tank your credit. Like when you reach out to a lender and they're going to talk to you first, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to figure out holistically what's going on with your finances and how we can help you get to where you need to be in home ownership. And the lender can talk to you about what happens with the credit pull. It's a, worst case scenario, it's always just a slight ding on your credit. It's nothing crazy. It easily bounces back, but it's so worth it in comparison to getting a baseline on where you need to be, to establishing where you need to go into home ownership. Because if you've never looked into it before and you want to become a homeowner, when are you ever going to start? You know what I mean? It's just, you got to look into it, right? So worst case scenario, the answer you always will ever get is not right now.
Yeah. That's so true.
But with us, it's how you'll get not right now, but this is how we can get you there. Not right now, see you later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is we do care and we want to help you get into home ownership. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people are looking for, is that human touch. And will I be taken care of? Is someone going to listen to me? Will they truly help me through this process and not just cast me aside if this isn't going to work out for me? Or can someone think outside the box? You know, I might be a small business, you know, because there's a lot of loans out there that maybe small business owners are like, I'm a newer small business, you know. Yes, there's lenders we work with that know how to structure for small business loans, even if you're newer. So like, reach out to us too if you have a small business. Like, we will help you and stick with you through a roadmap. As long as you know you're committed to sticking it with us, we're committed to sticking it with, you know, sticking in with you.
And if you're somebody that is really serious about buying a home and you're actually thinking about it, then getting those numbers and talking with a lender gives you something to actually think about. I mean, until you really know like what you can afford, you're not really thinking about, does this make sense for me? But once you talk with a lender and you really know what could work for you, that gives you something to actually think about. And Aaron, I love that story that you told about your clients. You know, they were looking at this dream home and you were able to kind of help them look at the expectations of what an entry-level home looks like and then working their way up to their dream home. It's kind of like when first-time buyers, you know, they look at you and they're like, man, how are people affording these $1 million, $2 million homes? Well, that's not their first house. You know, they're affording half of that on a mortgage payment, and they rolled equity from their last home to cover the other half.
Most of them, most of them. Like, you got to understand, most of these people did not get there overnight. And in most of them, that was not their first home. They were doing upgrades. We call them in the industry, they're move-up buyers. They have upgraded over time sequentially. You know, the average home buyer, thank you, Erik, the average home buyer, I think nationally owns a home for 7 years, but like it's been going down year over year. Like I just shared with you a story of someone that owned a house for 2 years on average. Now, again, now that I remember with, you know, where I went off on a tangent there was I was trying to say that in this current market, I do tell my buyers to be careful though, when they buy that starter home, we are running the numbers to be careful though that they can live with it for at least a decade. Like we need to like make sure that you are buying a home that you're comfortable with, that it's going to be a good investment, a solid investment, that you're comfortable with the as-is payments for 10 years. Like we need to be looking at all of that to be super safe with just how everything is. You know what I mean? In that way, because I like to be super conservative with the numbers for my clients to make sure that they are protected on everything. And that way, everything is under promised, over delivered, you know? So, yeah. But
and we briefly touched on 2-1 buy downs. And just to clarify on that as well, you do have to qualify on today's interest rate. Even though when you use a 2-1 buy down, your first year, you are paying a much lower interest rate, you still have to qualify based upon today's interest rate.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And then one more thing to mention based off of that, which we might put a pin in this just because we have gone over our 30 minutes and we can talk about this in a whole nother session, because I think this is giving me a good idea where the next time we all meet, we should just talk about affordability options that we're finding in our area to help first-time homebuyers. But one thing that we can circle back to in more detail is one thing that we're doing, especially with higher interest rates, is we can find listings or properties that sellers have currently listed where the seller currently has a mortgage that might be assumable, meaning there's a very large chunk on their mortgage that they could actually pass off to the buyer, you as the buyer, where the interest rate's a lot lower. You know, like maybe this seller bought during the pandemic when it was in the 2s or 3s, 3% range. So you can finagle the numbers where it's, so we can talk more in detail, and we can maybe even bring one of my lender buddies on to talk more about that. But this was great, guys. Again, we're over our 30 minutes here. I don't think we got any questions on this live. I wasn't expecting any, but again, I'm so glad to have you guys on our first episode of this podcast. Thanks for joining us. Again, Aaron Morrow, Kristy Lucas, Erik Olsen, Integrity Homeselling Team out of Keller Williams Bellevue. From Aaron Morrow, Greater Seattle Realtor YouTube channel. I this channel and my other YouTube channel, which is the Living in the Greater Seattle Area Aaron Morrow Realtor YouTube channel. That's more relocation based focused, but cross-pollinate from that YouTube channel as well. Thanks for coming to this live, everyone. Whatever platform you found it on, and hope to see you guys on the next one. Going to be trying to do one of these every Friday around between 11 and noonish. I am very uncommittal on the time right now, just because of.
I think you just made up a word.
Yeah. Very uncommittal. Yeah. Or what? Yeah. I'm very uncommittal. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. Good.
Aaron, thanks again for having us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys. Well, enjoy your day. Thanks, guys. Again, one more reminder. If any of you are looking to buy or sell in the Greater Seattle area, King, Pierce, Snohomish County, reach out to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or schedule a Zoom call in the description on YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And until next time, I hope to be showing you around town. Have a great day, guys.